Oh, I mean, flatly, they have not destroyed Hamas. They may have done some damage, but not substantial damage. And in fact, in many cases, I mean, the Israeli army themselves are saying they've been astonished how, they thought they'd cleared a part of Gaza, only to find a week or two later they were going back because Hamas had reassembled itself and reconstituted itself. Hamas is reconstituting itself throughout Gaza. So they failed on that. They failed on freeing the hostages. And that's why they decided, the solution to what's happening in Gaza is we're going to have a big victory in Lebanon. And that victory in Lebanon will produce, in the end, a capitulation by Hamas in Gaza. And then when that's gone into difficulties, as it is, they're suffering large numbers of casualties. The Israeli army, they have hardly penetrated more than a kilometer or two. They're just destroying houses in a big band, going in and demolishing people's houses, trying to create a desert there. They're going back to an old treaty that was the 83 treaty, whereby they would be able to sort of go in at will anywhere to Lebanon. They would be able to fly in and attack Hezbollah. I mean, the 83 treaty was a complete surrender of Lebanese sovereignty, and so they're asking for the same again. But since that's not working now, they say, well, everything will work if only we attack Iran. A big attack on Iran, and then all of these things will come true. And of course, the attack on Iran was a failure, just like the other elements. They did know there's absolutely no evidence. You can check everywhere you like, but any serious person who's looked at the photographs or satellite images tell you there's no significant damage done to Iran's air defenses, and certainly not its nuclear program or anything else. All of that is just pure, if you like, it's just lies that are done for victory.
Alastair Crooke's insights reveal a concerning pattern in Israel's strategy against Hamas, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and even Iran. Israel's stated objective, to neutralize Hamas and secure lasting safety for its citizens, is proving elusive, as the resilience of Hamas forces has reportedly surprised even seasoned Israeli military strategists. Despite numerous attempts to clear areas of Gaza, Israeli forces have found themselves returning to these same areas, where Hamas has already reconstituted its presence. The strength and adaptability of Hamas have highlighted serious limitations in Israel's approach. As Crooke points out, Israel's strategy of targeting infrastructure and deploying large-scale ground forces has not achieved its goals. Hamas's ability to regroup quickly within Gaza's labyrinthine landscape reveals a significant miscalculation, indicating that neutralizing the group might require more than traditional military tactics. This has become a cycle of attack and retreat, with Israel repeatedly needing to re-engage in areas it previously deemed cleared. This recurring resilience has forced Israel to reconsider its methods. The question arises, can a group as deeply embedded in Gaza as Hamas be dismantled purely through military means? Crooke suggests that the very nature of Hamas, which has woven itself into the social and political fabric of Gaza, presents an enduring challenge. Traditional military solutions may fall short, particularly in such an asymmetric conflict where Israel's conventional might is met with guerrilla tactics and a highly motivated opposition. According to Crooke, Israel's failure to decisively weaken Hamas has led it to turn its focus toward Lebanon, where Hezbollah presents a powerful, well-armed adversary. The hope is that a significant victory against Hezbollah could somehow undermine Hamas's resolve. However, this shift has also encountered serious challenges. The Israeli army has faced substantial resistance and has reportedly suffered heavy casualties while advancing only a few kilometers into southern Lebanon. Rather than breaking through Hezbollah's defenses, Israel has found itself bogged down, demolishing buildings and infrastructure in an attempt to clear territory. This approach brings back memories of the 1982 Lebanon War, where Israel initially made progress but later faced severe resistance and eventual retreat. The 1983 treaty that Crooke mentions, which ceded significant Lebanese sovereignty to Israeli forces, set a precedent for Israel's military intervention in Lebanon. By reviving this approach, Israel may seek similar outcomes, aiming for control over Lebanese airspace and strategic mobility within the region. However, Crooke points out that this strategy may be ill-suited for today's geopolitical landscape, where Hezbollah is better prepared and regional alliances have shifted dramatically since the early 1980s. In an attempt to address its challenges with Hamas and Hezbollah, Israel has set its sights on Iran, viewing it as the linchpin in supporting regional opposition. According to Crooke, Israeli strategists believe that by launching a substantial attack on Iran, they could dismantle the broader network of resistance across Gaza and Lebanon. However, the attack on Iran has reportedly fallen short of its objectives. There has been no significant damage to Iran's air defenses or nuclear capabilities, a reality that satellite images and defense analysts can confirm. Crooke characterizes the portrayal of this attack as successful as mere fabrication, an attempt to frame a setback as a victory. The failure of this large-scale strike on Iran reveals a critical flaw in Israel's strategic calculus. Iran's defenses, built over decades with assistance from allies like Russia, are sophisticated and robust, making quick or decisive victories unlikely. By targeting Iran, Israel risks escalating the conflict to a regional or even international level, bringing in other major players who have stakes in Iran's security, including Russia and China. This move could potentially spiral into a broader confrontation, one that Israel and its allies may find increasingly difficult to control. Crooke's observations highlight the potential futility of Israel's pursuit of a decisive victory as a solution to its security issues. The idea that a crushing defeat of Hezbollah or Iran would force Hamas into submission seems overly simplistic. Hamas's operations and ideology are deeply entrenched within Gaza, and its motivations extend beyond any single regional power. As Crooke implies, Israel's attempts to achieve a quick resolution through sheer force may lead to prolonged conflict rather than the peace and security it seeks. In targeting Iran, Israel risks not only regional backlash, but also a response from powerful international allies of Iran. Iran's BRICS alignment and partnerships with Russia and China suggest that any direct threat to its sovereignty could invite a counter-response, possibly through economic or political channels that could impact Israel's standing. Furthermore, the resilience of groups like Hamas and Hezbollah may mean that even the elimination of Iran as a regional power would not stop their resistance. One particularly stark aspect of Israel's strategy, as Crooke describes, is the creation of what he calls a desert across Gaza and Lebanon, massive territorial clearance through widespread demolition of civilian infrastructure. This approach, focused on securing space rather than capturing it, aims to create buffer zones and reduce the risk of resistance forces re-emerging. However, this strategy has severe humanitarian costs, as it involves the destruction of homes and the displacement of civilian populations on a large scale. The strategy also raises questions about the sustainability of this form of territorial control. Creating vast swathes of cleared land may temporarily reduce attacks on Israeli forces, but it is unlikely to win over the hearts and minds of those affected by the devastation. The widespread destruction fuels resentment, further entrenching the resolve of groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. This approach risks turning these territories into permanent hotbeds of hostility, making future peace even more difficult to attain. According to Crooke, Israel's portrayal of its actions as victories, despite limited achievements, is part of a broader misinformation strategy. The state's public messaging presents a narrative of success to both the domestic population and international supporters, projecting strength and resolve. However, as Crooke asserts, this narrative does not match reality. This gap between perception and reality may lead to disillusionment within Israeli society and among its allies, as the limitations of Israel's military strategies become increasingly evident. By overstating the impact of attacks on Iran and downplaying setbacks in Gaza and Lebanon, Israel may inadvertently create unrealistic expectations among its citizens. As the ground realities become clear, the public could begin to question the effectiveness of the government's approach. This could lead to internal divisions, with growing demands for a reassessment of military strategies and a shift toward alternative solutions, such as diplomatic engagement with regional powers. Alastair Crooke's analysis suggests that Israel's current approach may ultimately prove unsustainable. With challenges mounting on multiple fronts, the pursuit of a big victory seems unlikely to yield the desired outcomes. Instead, Israel might need to consider strategies that prioritize stability over dominance, recognizing the limitations of military force in achieving long-term peace. A shift toward diplomatic solutions, engaging with regional stakeholders to address the underlying tensions, could pave the way for a more sustainable resolution. While such an approach may seem difficult, it offers a path toward reducing hostilities and creating an environment in which Israel's security is not constantly at risk. Crooke's insights challenge Israel to reconsider its objectives and adapt its strategies, recognizing that genuine security cannot be achieved solely through force, but must also involve meaningful engagement with the complex realities of the region. According to Alastair Crooke, they have not destroyed Hamas. They may have done some damage, but not substantial damage. In fact, in many cases, even the Israeli army has been astonished. They thought they'd cleared a part of Gaza, only to find a week or two later they were going back because Hamas had reassembled and reconstituted itself. Hamas is reconstituting itself throughout Gaza. So, they failed on that. They failed on freeing the hostages. That's why they decided the solution to what's happening in Gaza is to win big in Lebanon. They thought that victory in Lebanon would force Hamas into a capitulation in Gaza. But that strategy is struggling as well, with the Israeli army suffering significant casualties. They have hardly penetrated more than a kilometer or two. They're mostly demolishing people's houses, creating a vast desert area. Now, since that's not working, they say the solution is a large-scale attack on Iran, hoping everything else will fall into place. But the attack on Iran failed as well. There's no significant damage to Iran's air defenses or nuclear program. The idea that it was a successful strike is just pure fabrication. Thanks for watching.